Is there any gray area? Is there any wiggle room? Is there any way to argue that dirt from a foreign entity on a political opponent would be something that you can receive legally? Any wiggle room at all?
There is no wiggle room with respect to dirt, with respect to opposition research, because the Federal Election Commission has already decided in other cases that that is, quote, a thing of value. The phrase a thing of value.
Money or a thing of value.
Correct. Comes from the statute, which prohibits receipt of money or a thing of value from a foreign national, whether the person is working for a foreign government or not.
So what the president said he would do to George Stephanopoulos, if he did it, would be felonious.
Correct. Meaning he would be committing a felony, and the person giving it to him, if that person was ever here and subject to our jurisdiction, would be committing a felony as well.
If you're sitting in Riyadh or in Moscow watching the telly and you hear the president say, I would accept it, what sort of message does that send to you who want to curry favor with the leader of the free world?
To give him what you think will help him either in his work as president or in his candidacy for re-election. I mean, this was debated very loud and long in the Citizens United case, in which the Supreme Court basically said money is an expression of an opinion. So you can spend all your own money you want, and the federal regulations prohibiting you from spending your own money are unconstitutional. It expressly says this does not pertain to foreign nationals who still cannot influence an American campaign with money or a thing of value.
In 2016, or prior to, the president, the then candidate Donald Trump, said to the Russians, come on, give me a hand here. And they did. And part of the argument was, well, he's not a career politician. He's a businessman. He's a real estate guy. He didn't know better. There's no not knowing better now. Well, so what might be a motivation to say such a thing?
Look, the president has argued that he has the freedom of speech, and he is the head of the country, and he is the head of the free world, and he can listen to any information he wants. That is true, except if he is a candidate, then what he receives is regulated by federal laws that he took an oath to uphold. And among those laws are you cannot take something, accept something, receive something from a foreign national under the guise of being the head of state or because you want to use it for your campaign.
That would be a felony.
That would be a felony.
When you heard this, what was your first reaction?
The President of the United States of America is prepared to commit a felony to get reelected. That was my reaction, and it was not a happy one. I was not happy to hear it. I thought he shot himself in the foot politically, and I wished he hadn't said it, but he did.
This is Fox News' senior judicial analyst Andrew Napolitano and host Shep Smith calling Trump out for his bombshell admission that he'd be willing to accept dirt from a foreign entity against a political opponent.
Your campaign this time around, if foreigners, if Russia, if China, if someone else offers you information on an opponent, should they accept it or should they call the FBI?
I think maybe you do both. I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening. If somebody called from a country, Norway, we have information on your opponent. Oh, I think I'd want to hear it.
You want that kind of interference in our elections?
It's not an interference. They have information. I think I'd take it. If I thought there was something wrong, I'd go maybe to the FBI if I thought there was something wrong. But when somebody comes up with Oppo research, right? They come up with Oppo research. Oh, let's call the FBI. The FBI doesn't have enough agents to take care of it. But you go and talk honestly to congressmen. They all do it. They always have. And that's the way it is. It's called Oppo research.
And despite Trump's laissez-faire attitude about the whole thing, Shep and Napolitano confirmed that doing what Trump just said he'd be open to doing would be a felony. To be clear, George Stephanopoulos' question was about what Trump would do if a foreigner offered him information on his opponent, which is unequivocally illegal. It's not, as Trump claims, opposition research. It's opposition research when it's done by Americans. When it's done by a foreign entity, it's illegal. Foreigners who are neither U.S. citizens nor U.S. permanent residents are barred from providing candidates anything of value. And candidates are barred from seeking anything of value from a foreigner. And surprise, dirt on a political opponent is a thing of value. And the law is beyond clear here. During FBI Director Christopher Wray's confirmation hearing, he was unequivocal about what to do in the event that a foreign entity tries to give you information on an opponent. And the issue was raised by, of all people, Lindsey Graham.
So here's what I want you to tell every politician. If you get a call from somebody suggesting that a foreign government wants to help you by disparaging your opponent, tell us all to call the FBI.
to the members of this committee, any threat or effort to interfere with our elections from any nation state or any non-state actor is the kind of thing the FBI would want to know.
All right, so I'll take it that we should call you, and that's a great answer.
But even amid an avalanche of condemnation, Trump has dug in his heels on the issue because why admit you simply misspoke when you can dig yourself deeper into a hole? He tweeted that he talks to foreign governments every day, that he just met with the Queen of England, the Prince of Wales, the Prime Minister of the UK, of France, of Poland. Should he immediately call the FBI about these meetings? But he's purposefully conflating having regular conversations with heads of state and seeking dirt on political opponents. A meeting with the Queen isn't regulated speech, but seeking dirt on political opponents is. Again, it is a thing of value, and he obviously knows the difference. He's just banking on his supporters being too stupid to. Imagine throwing your support behind someone who treats you as if you're that dumb, that he really thinks anyone would believe his claim that lunch with the Queen is the same as asking Russia for dirt on Hillary. And up until now, Trump and his administration have used their status as supposed political outsiders as a crutch in diffusing responsibility for their misconduct, for a slew of what would normally be glaringly illegal activities. That's why Don Jr. isn't in prison after taking a meeting at Trump Tower with Kushner and Manafort and a Kremlin-linked lawyer who promised dirt on Hillary Clinton. That's why Trump himself has still not been punished for calling on Russia to hack Hillary Clinton's emails during the 2016 campaign.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
Which they attempted to do only hours later. But while that may have served as a valid excuse for those desperately looking to come to Trump's defense before, it won't now. Not after a 2-year investigation into exactly the same thing. And not only that, it leaves Democrats and Republicans with egg on their face after being blatantly duped into believing and defending Trump. Because the same guy who was literally greeting reporters with the salutation of no collusion,
No collusion.
is now welcoming exactly that. This is not a matter of Trump failing to learn his lesson the first time. He knew the lesson the first time. This is about him not caring, just as he didn't before, and he's being propped up by spineless Republicans who are afraid of some mean tweets if they ever dared buck the party line. He's propped up by people like Lindsey Graham, who once upon a time knew better and even pressured the future FBI director of the United States of America to warn those seeking information from foreigners that they will face consequences. And he's propped up by Democrats, who apparently need Trump to physically hand over the nation's voter rolls to Vladimir Putin before they'll actually do anything about this. Our election was hacked in 2016, and unless something is done right now, Trump just ensured that it'll happen again in 2020. Because as another brilliant Republican orator once said,
"Fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again."